The only reason I'm doing this video is because it seems to be that there's a federal election looming, and it looks like by the poll numbers, I don't believe the polls, that the Liberals might do quite well. The ruling federal Liberal Party. Now, I'm not going to tell people how to vote, so I'm just going to stick with the facts, right? Because we're in an era of science and facts and truth. Even though there is no central source of truth, I'm sorry to tell that to people. That's just not how life works. There is no ministry of truth, and it's a 1984 reference, and you don't want a ministry of truth. No, what we have is good journalism, and then we have mainstream media, which nowadays is just pure propaganda. And I say that as a history and political science major, but of course, you don't have to take my opinion for it. You can talk to, or read about expert review panels that we have in this country. That's just a giant joke. Look, if you compare our pandemic response and the federal government's response, the most oppressive regime since World War II, objectively, I'll debate anybody about that, to Japan, for example, or Australia, or New Zealand, even though I don't agree with everything that Australians and New Zealanders did, but if you compare the pandemic response, it obliterates us. But we have the most first doses in the world because our expert review panels, these expert review panels, suggested that we can have our second dose 4 months after the first, even though the vaccine manufacturer clearly states 21 days. And then, of course, the same expert review panel suggests that the expiry date on vaccines can be extended. Our chief medical officer has no credibility at this point. Yes, I'm going to use names I normally don't, but Theresa Tam, somebody that in that position has been so wrong several times. Okay, I'm not going to review the whole thing, otherwise this video would be like 20 minutes. What are the positives? What are the positives? Okay, because the lockdown measures, the quarantine hotels, which by the way, and maybe that's the problem, maybe it's the compliance. I feel like most Canadian citizens are more compliant than they should be, right? Because compliance breeds obedience, and obedience is what every dictatorship since the history of time has always wanted. 99% of people coming in to the airport opt for these quarantine hotels instead of the fines. Fines that are now 6 times what the first offense for drunk driving is. Again, 20, 30-minute videos I could if I talked about one of those individual issues. Ultimately, literally having a second-class citizenry. I understand the controversy with getting vaccinated, not getting vaccinated, or I guess not getting vaccinated as opposed to getting vaccinated. Ultimately, they're already trying to say you need the third booster shot. The Germans, okay, I think I've cited the Germans, back in February of last year, said there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. It's too contagious of a virus, and we're just going to have to deal with it moving forward. Now, if that means getting your yearly booster shot every year, and you have to do that, we'll see. But like I said, 5, 10 years down the road, we'll know more of the truth, right? I will say that historically, governments lie, make mistakes, and cover it up all the time. I mean, wow, what a track record. But maybe it comes down to the fact, more often than not, and absolutely right now, governments are run by a collection of bureaucrats that fail to make it in the private sector. Okay, they're not exactly the best of the best. And they're going to implement policies that have the broadest impact at somewhat of a reasonable cost, although some governments go into heavy, heavy debt and bankruptcy. But moreover, this is why at the local level, at the community level, that's where you're going to get, I think, more of a down-to-earth approach, more grounded approach that appeals to you. If you're searching for the truth and you do your due diligence and research and you talk with other people in the community, that's how you get more of the good stuff. The federal government, especially this one, which I personally feel extremely confident will be judged as the worst in Canadian history. Just give it time. Just give it time. And, I mean, maybe that's just what this country is. It's like just a region of the world where people have been so brainwashed to vote the same, and maybe the circle of ineptitude just keeps going, right? Hopefully not.